everyone to an episode of the Ol'Timers Comic Book Show. I am your host, Johnny Machine Hughes, and joining me as always is the Professor.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey,
How you doing?
it feels like only 24 hours since we last spoke.
It does. It does.
It does. All right, so we normally go with themes for these kind of pods. We very rarely do random shows anymore, and we have both been, admittedly separately, to the old picture house to see the latest volume of Guardians of the Galaxy. We have mixed views. I think is a fair share.
There were ups and downs. It was like a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was some fun. There was some disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to hear a full review of our opinions on the movie, check out the latest No Prize podcast, where you get to hear the Professor, I, and Lucas wax lyrical about the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, that said, of course, with the Ol'Timers, so these characters have been around for absolutely ages. And
Absolutely.
when we look back, I mean, no spoilers or anything, but it's a fair shout to say that, man, they all look different.
Some of them, I would argue, may not actually be the same characters.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I could think of about at least what a good 3/5 aren't the same character.
Yeah.
Maybe 4/5.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take an old-timers look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. All right, we're going to go chronological. So our first book is This Little Beauty, and this is Tales to Astonish, Volume 1, Number 13, which features the first appearance of Groot. Yes.
The monster from Planet X.
That is Groot.
Yes.
Yeah. Whew. All right, so this is from 1959, so this is before the Marvel explosion.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, Professor, it was Monsters of the Week.
It most definitely was. You had Tales to Astonish, you had Strange Tales, you had Tales of Suspense, all of them featuring your run-of-the-mill monster of the week, whatever Jack Kirby felt like drawing that month.
I find it ironic that those types of books were still massively popular, yet EC Comics fell under the bus a little bit on that one, because they were the true original monster books, I guess. So I couldn't find a price in the UK for this book on eBay. Could not find a price at all. Take a guess. Just take a guess how much Go Collect have a number 8 recorded sale for this book is.
An eight graded Tales to Astonish number 13.
Yep.
It has to be probably like 3,000 or something like that.
$19,800.
Shows, see, we're not only old school on pricing. So.
Yeah. So this is written by Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, art by Jack Kirby, ink by Dick Ayers, colors by Stan Goldberg, and letters by Ray Holloway. As I mentioned, it's the first appearance of Groot. It is a monsters book. So what was your take on this one? Because I was like, what?
Oh, it was a totally...
What?
My numbers, if you read any of these Tales to Astonish stories from back in the day, they all read the same. The monster was different. So if you kind of look at the old horror comics where they introduce the one-off protagonist character like Leslie here, they introduce him within a page. He sees the Groot land on Earth and start, sucking up all the wood and making himself bigger. And it's up to our hero, Leslie, who looks a lot like Dick Tracy with his yellow trench coat.
Yeah. And Clark Kent with his glasses.
Right. to stop Groot. And, I was reading it. I like that man with the yellow hat down the bottom.
Yeah.
Curious George. But the there's always that little twist at the end, right? So
right?
these 8-page stories, you don't know how it's gonna happen and like how it's gonna end, and it looks like they don't have a chance, and then all of a sudden it turns out that Leslie gave Groot termites, and they worked astonishingly fast within 2 panels. Super termites they must have been.
I was reading this book, and I'm a big fan. I think I've mentioned before, because I was into Star Wars as a kid. My dad made me sit and watch all those B movies, the sci-fi movies and stuff.
This is definitely a B comic,
yeah. So things like The Day the Earth Stood Still and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and the black and white one where the aliens walk backwards so you don't see the zip in the suit, stuff like that. So that was kind of like my sci-fi background, I guess. Reading this, it was just nostalgia all the way for me. And it was like, you've got the Nebworth Leslie, who looks like, as you say, Dick Tracy meets Clark Kent. You've got the shrill, oh, why can't you be so like the guys on the cinema?
Yeah, it's like the Lois Lane character without the Superman.
And of course, Brains wins out over Brawn every time. I had to laugh at just the termites thing got me. I was like, I did not expect that in a million years. And then the idea that for some reason Leslie's thought of as not being like masculine. I mean, they even give him a girl's name. I mean, remember this is 1959, so apologize to everyone, every bloke who's called Leslie, and you've had this grief all your life. I probably get it, so I understand. But back in 1959, it's a girl's name. Like, how much can they hammer the point back that this isn't our hero is not a good guy? He's not like the traditional,
That last panel should have been like, I love you, Leslie. I'm sorry, I thought about that, and then he should have been like, call me Les.
Yeah. Oh, killing me. Yeah. Oh my God. So I want to just go back to good old Groot here for a second. This is quite to say inauspicious start is a bit of a overstatement by any understatement. In fact, what do you think made the guy so popular that he had to come back?
So this is one of the characters that I kind of think that this might not actually be the Groot that we see in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He might be just another guy named Groot or another tree named Groot. But I mean, if you read this, our Groot in our MCU Groot could not absorb wood, and even though he can make himself grow, he makes himself big.
Yeah.
And he also shows a command over other trees, and he calls the forest out to help him. That's another left field kind of power for Groot here. So I think the only thing that they took out of this thing was the name.
Yeah.
And it's a big guy made of wood, big tree person.
It would be interesting to see because his second appearance was in Incredible Hulk annual.
Yeah, well, and this Groot talks too, right? So
and this one talks. So I'd be interested to see what he looks like. But the Groot that we know and love doesn't actually feature in any of the comics we can talk about on the show because it's Ol'Timers. So the Groot that we know is from around 2006.
Yeah, the Abnett and Lanning when the Guardians of the Galaxy returned in the Annihilation series. So that was and even then, what are we at? That's almost 20 years old now too, which is wow. That's wow. We'll be talking about that in just a few years.
Yeah. How old do you feel right now? Now you said that.
Well, let's say I was not around when this book was released.
No, it was I. So this was true before our times. Mm-hmm. You know what? For what it is, and for the I suppose the sentiment of the style of story, I absolutely thought this was a bang-on version of this type of thing.
Oh,
I absolutely had a stupid daft grin reading it every page. I will say this: I didn't think Jack Kirby's on his A game.
No, I mean this is pretty by the numbers, and this is probably the 15th story he drew that week. So and these kind of stories were, I'm sure, rather forgettable. I'm sure if Kirby was still around, you could probably ask him about Groot, and he probably wouldn't have remembered drawing it. To be totally honest with you,
It's a good cover though. I do like the cover.
oh yeah.
I like the cover.
But if you were to pick, if you were to say, give me an example of a monster comic from Marvel / Atlas / Timely, you would pick one of these stories because they're quick, 8 pages, introduce the protagonist, introduce the bad guy, and then kill, finish him off by the final panel of the story.
Cool. Right, so we keep a running score, right? So Groot is 19 grand.
All right.
Right,
That's respectable. That's respectable for
that's
a character that only has 3 words spoken.
No, not in that book. He doesn't. He's a talkative little
Yes,
kid.
very talkative in that issue.
All right, okay. So that's Groot out of the way. Brilliant. So when we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, there are a couple of other characters that have made their presence known. Yeah, and this one, the next book, is a definitive key book. If you like your cosmic shenanigans, this is the book.
Oh,
This book you should have in your collection.
They don't get any more key than this because not only one character debut, but 2.
Well, actually, I don't want to question you, Professor, but there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first appearances in this.
Oh, well, two major first appearances.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to talk about Invincible Iron Man 55 from Volume 1. This is from Feb 1973. Again, could not find out on eBay. Oh, sorry, I tell a lie. eBay, I found plenty of masterworks and facsimiles, and even those are like daft prices. Like, I don't know if I'd pay £30 for a reprint book, but still hold. How much do you think this is worth then?
Let's see. Well, if Groot is worth 19,000, this is got to be in the 50 range.
3,100
for an 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
Crazy.
I mean, it is 20 years older.
Yeah. It's
okay.
a younger book. It's a younger book. That's unfortunately the thing.
There's probably a lot more copies of this running around too.
Yeah. Definitely. So this is one. If it's cosmic and it's Marvel, there's only one name you can assign to this. Of course, it is Jim Starlin on writing and art. Although he does get a writing lift from Mike Friedrich. Inks by Mike Esposito, and John Costanza is over on letters. So your first appearances. All right. You said a couple. So who have you got? Who's your first appearances?
Well, obviously Drax.
Drax the Destroyer, yes.
Yep. And then we have the first appearance of Thanos.
Thanos, yes.
First appearance of
Thanos.
First appearance of the Blood Brothers. Those are again. Who are the other 2?
Well, the ones I've got listed, you've got Thanos, Kronos, Mentor, Star Fox.
There we go. Okay, and miscolored in this original issue, Star Fox and Mentor. So they were originally colored grape purple like Thanos.
Yeah, because they're Titans, aren't they? That's the idea. They're all from Titan. So again, another great splash page to tell us that this Drax is nothing like the Drax that you know and love if you like your Guardians cinema style, right?
Yep.
Again, why? I have no idea. So, story-wise, Drax has been captured, and he uses telepathy, or telepathing, as it's called in this, for some death reason, to contact Iron Man, who he thinks can help him escape. In between is that we get Iron Man doing his suit-up thing, which isn't as cool as it is in the cinema, I've got to say.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
Good. And then, of course, there you go. There's the Thanos in the shade there in that middle panel there, and there's Star Fox and Mentor. There you go.
That's more like a cameo, wouldn't you say?
Well, I didn't call it. I knew it for Thanos and Drax. I didn't realize
Yeah.
everyone was in this, but um, Go Collect had the full list of who was first in this. Um, it's wordy. It's Jim Starlin,
Yep.
and then I think from there on in, it's pretty much as you'd expect. The Thanos character, I think, stays pretty consistent from this point in.
I believe so too.
Yeah, cool. As for everyone else, well, we all know all Shellhead goes through some changes, does he not?
Yes.
More than once. Um, Interesting book. I thought this was even more by the numbers than Tales to Astonish, to be honest. I was like, considering this is a key book, it just reads like another day in the life of, for me. What do you think?
Well, just to give you a little history. So
Go for
Jim
it.
Starlin wrote this Iron Man book. It was a fill-in, really. This
Mm.
was not part of the Iron Man's regular continuity. And I don't know if I can't remember if Iron Man was going through a creative team change at the time, but Jim
Mhm.
Starlin did this one Iron Man book. This is the one, and he brought all his toys to play with in the Iron Man universe. That was really prior to this. He was doing Captain Marvel, Adam Warlock,
Yep.
and they had actually mentioned Thanos once or twice in their book, and then
Hmm.
this is his first appearance proper. So I don't know if maybe they wanted more of a spotlight on Thanos when they debuted him. I'm not
Hmm.
sure, and put him in an Iron Man book. But let's be honest, Iron Man was not a hot seller back in 1975 or
70, yeah, 73, sorry.
73. So, I mean, Iron Man was definitely at this point the C or D list level character for Marvel.
Mm.
So, um, you know, they're getting away with whatever they want to do. Jim Starlin, um, his writing style is, I would say, an acquired taste. Um, One of those people that does his own writing over his art. Um, the art as well, I think, and we'll talk about this when we get later into, I think, the Marvel premiere issues we're going to talk about,
Yep.
or the Strange Tales. I think the one with Warlock in it.
Yep.
Um, but this one, it is very wordy, and it's obvious that Starlin already has backstory for his characters and a map of where he's going. So
Hmm.
when you see Drax, you already know he's got this big thing going on with Thanos, and by the time they introduce Thanos, and you have huge backstory here with Titan and Mentor and Eros and a lot of stuff going on in the 20 pages that he has to tell this story.
Mm.
So Iron Man is very much, I think, a side character on this. I kind of barely remember he's in it half the time.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a model. It's the reason, isn't it? It's the reason why. It's the way
yeah,
out. It's way out of the out of the trap. So
and I can't remember, but I think this might have been the first time I ever saw uh, someone actually explain that Iron Man's armor was actually like it felt like cloth until he magnetized it or something when he's putting it on.
let's
He
have a
like
look.
puts the sleeves up,
Yeah.
and then he hits a button and then it polarizes. That's what it says. Polarizes to iron toughness. Right?
How did we buy this back in the day?
I just thought it was funny. So I kind of enjoyed it because I mean obviously we're always like, well, he carries a briefcase with him that has the armor in it.
Yeah.
So
Must weigh a ton, right? But
yeah.
never mind.
So
The
so yeah, this book it is like we say. We'll probably save all of these that are of their time, but this is
yeah.
definitely Marvel's birth, really, of getting back into the hardcore cosmic sci-fi type
Yeah.
stuff. Which prior to it, we had Silver Surfer. So
Yeah. And now even then that was hit and miss.
yeah,
Schedule wise. Not quality wise, schedule wise. Um I for a Jim Starlin book, some of the dialogue threw me.
hmm
Especially towards the end. And it was the Iron Man dialogue that kind of threw me the most. I mean, he calls Drax, whose name is Drax the Destroyer.
old
Yeah,
friend.
old buddy, old buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, you've only just met him like 20 pages, like 10 pages ago. What's going on? You know, you don't know the person really. Which kind of I think leads into what you were saying. How these characters fit somewhere else, and they've just been pigeonholed into an Iron Man book for whatever reason, deadline crunch or whatever.
It really could have been any other character. They could have had Spider-Man or Captain America on here and had them do the exact same thing, but it's very much a driven by Drax and Thanos book.
And I suppose if you're a Guardians fan, then this probably, out of all the books we're going to look at, this is the one that you want. This is because of Thanos, because of Drax. You know, you've so
just
you've
the
got
whole history stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, Thanos remains consistent throughout. Drax is another character that goes through some dramatic changes.
But Drax actually doesn't go through those changes until past our timeline.
Yeah.
When Abnett and Lanning put together their version of the Guardians, which is the one we see on the screen, then Drax goes through, goes from this version to the tattooed version of a more of a like a Punisher type character than a cosmic type character.
Strange, but it work. Does it work? I think it's an interesting read, and I agree with you that it's of its time. You always tell me that Marvel books seem ahead of the curve when it comes to like the comparable DC books. I would challenge you and say, on the evidence of this book, no, they don't.
This read more like an Adam Strange book, right? You could probably put Adam Strange in here and have it be, believable.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I don't know, and you can help me out with this. I don't know how much more interactions Thanos has with Iron Man from this point onwards.
The Avengers Annual, which is,
and that's it.
That's it.
Then comes the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like having Venom show up in a Fantastic Four book. Makes no sense.
It's very strange. It is very strange because in no world, and of course we don't know this yet, but we didn't know at the time that Thanos was on the power level of where he was, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, they didn't even draw him to be that big imposing figure that they did now. He looks just like a purple dude.
But then, of course, we all know that it's Stalin that wrote the Infinity Gauntlet, and then from there on in. So, the idea that he's got like a template, like a plan of who goes where and what they do is bang on right. Excellent. Cool. 2 up, 3 to go. Groot is still in the lead.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, who would think? I mean, personally speaking, I wouldn't pay 19 grand for it, but okay. Time for whatever. Sorry?
For an 8-page story?
No. What's that work out at? Like £2,000, £3,000, $3,000 a page, practically. 7 threes, maybe.
Probably.
All right. Time for one of our adverts. You know what? We mentioned it before, and we talked about Guardians, so it makes sense. Check it out. It's a no prize. This podcast drops fortnightly the day before us. Amazing.
Surprise.
Featuring this guy.
And that guy too.
Yeah. Yay. Oh man, I was feisty. Yeah, I was feisty. That's all I'm saying. I was feisty. I've been quite feisty for quite some time, but there you go.
Tune in this week to see a feisty British man.
Rah. Now, we said that the Iron Man book was a key book, and it absolutely is for its impact.
Yes.
However, I also think this next book, at least story-wise, is massive because it features a couple of things going on with the character that you're like, what? and it's not his first appearance, but he does feature in the latest Guardians movie. Well, kinda. This is Strange Tales number 180 from March 1975. So it's a couple of years after we've already been introduced to Thanos and Drax. eBay, you can get this as low as £30.
Really?
Yeah, for a very low grade. 138 is probably £138 is probably the fairest for a fine. Go collect. What do you think?
Oh, 2,500.
Go collect. Have this as a grade 8. Are you ready? $110.
Really?
$550 for a 9.6.
Well, to be honest with you, this is exactly the kind of book that when I was first collecting, when I was 14 years old, going to the comic secondhand bookstores, where you would find this in the quarter bin. You would find many books like this for a quarter, and this really kind of stoked my collecting habit, because I was able to pick a lot of these books up from the 70s for nothing, pretty much.
Indeed. So, yeah, that's great if you can get that. I think I bought a whole run of practically Satana and Power Girl out of a bargain bin at Forbidden Planet. So I was like, great, cool. Anyway, so it's Cosmic Marvel. Jim Starlin is your writer. No, he's not. Sam Gittern is your writer. Art Jim Starlin, ink by
JL Mini Rats.
Yeah, along
that's
with
all. That's all Jim Starlin.
I know it is. I know.
But give him credit for giving himself credit 3 times.
I'd like to see him try and cash the check for the 3 gig thing that he did. Otherwise helps out on inks and of course letters. If you're going to have a wordy book, there's only one person you want at Marvel working on it. The fantastic Tom Olszewski.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wordy books. There are many authors in Marvel that are wordy in 1970s.
Yeah. Well, do I not get points for saying Olszewski correctly?
You do, yeah. Olszewski.
Considering I could get my name wrong, never mind anybody else.
Famous for which book?
Tom Olszewski. I would say X-Men.
Yes, that's the book that he was the perennial letterer of during Claremont's run.
Yeah, that's the X-Men. I think he's a letterer who produced that really professional typeface, and it moves away a little bit from the standards we had at that. I think we don't talk about letters enough, but there are some that just actually you see the name and you're just like, wow, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Modern day, it's got to be Clayton Cowles is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, VC's Clayton Cowles. He's all over the shop. Tom Olszewski back in the day was up there. There's a whole host of other people. John Costanza for Marvel and DC, again, fantastic. So the letters can spoil a book as much as the bad art. In fact, I would say, I don't know how you feel about this, but in the whole writing versus art debate, if the comic doesn't read well, no matter how pretty the pictures are, I'm not interested.
That's true.
So that's just a me thing. So
try going back and reading a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man book written by Todd McFarlane.
No, thank you. Yeah. No, thank you. I was thinking Liefeld, but hey, on this one. All right, so this time you can see Starlin's work's beginning to look like Starlin, isn't it? Check out that chin on that.
Oh yeah, little square jawed action going on there.
Yeah, sure. And he's on the hunt for the Magus, the evil god creating, religion creating person who is his arch nemesis at this stage. There's a big twist at the end in this. The other big story, I think, the thing that kind of caught my eye is the Soul Gem.
Mm-hmm.
Soul Gem, or as modern day readers would know it as the Soul Stone. What can I say?
Hey, well, if you want to give Starlin credit for it, he changes the name himself. So. So
there you go. Adam Warlock realizes that Soul Stone's alive, takes on board the things of the captured or the dead people that he kills or whatever. It's all a bit wordy. You've got to stick with it because it is interesting. That's the matriarch, isn't it? The girl in the crown thing, in the big red dress. Is that what her name is? I think it is.
From the movie?
No, is she in the movie? No. Is it supposed to be her from the movie?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So we're talking like from like the Church of Universal Truth or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if that's her.
And then obviously goes up goes and finds himself in court, and then he finds out the biggest hook of all is that Adam Warlock is the Magus himself.
What a twist!
Did you?
The evil is you.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. Well, I'll tell like I knew it was coming because I know the Warlock history, but reading this book, I was surprised it was this book that I found out in.
Yeah.
So I think that goes to credit of the writing and keeping so many plates spinning, and the interaction with Warlock House with the Soul Gem Stone, whatever. That you buy into that before anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the book's here, not because of Adam Warlock, it's because of that green fishnet wearing young lady, and that bottom panel, unnamed, is Gamora. The first appearance of Gamora.
And those 4 panels are the only time she's in the book. So this counts as a first appearance. Even though you don't really find out much about her other than the fact that she gets in league with Pip, and tune in tomorrow for what her actual plans are for Warlock. But this is definitely a Warlock book, and as disappointed in the movie at the portrayal of Warlock, this is the Warlock that you want to see. And just remind yourselves that this character had his own book. This character was a leading man, major character, major cosmic character from here in the 70s until Starlin killed him off, but then brought him back in the 80s, the 90s for Infinity Gauntlet. And then, since then he's been in and out of Marvel continuity, but this is a major, major cosmic character that, of course, if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy, they did not do justice to him at all.
In no shape, way, or form did they do any justice whatsoever to Warlock. It could have been any other character. In fact, I kind of wish it had.
I'm surprised because, Starlin is generally pretty proud of everything that he's done that shows up on film. I can't imagine him being proud of the way that they portrayed Warlock, even though he didn't create Warlock. That goes to Roy Thomas. But even because I don't think Roy or Jim could be. I think would probably be more embarrassed about his portrayal on film.
I think this brings up a nice, interesting question for you. Who do you think deserves the credit for characters like Warlock, for Groot, for Rocket, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, the X-Men, Captain America, because these characters get created by someone, yet they rise to fame under the penmanship of somebody else. So, Cap, you could argue that Cap was done until he joined the Avengers. Hence, people think Stan Lee created Captain America. Wrong. Chris Claremont didn't create the X-Men. I mean, he has created some mutants, of course he has, but when Giant Size X-Men and X-Men 94 rolled off the dock, he wasn't even involved. And now you've got...
Think of that, where would they be if...
So. Yeah, I get that. But then you got Warlock, who wasn't created by Jim Starlin, but yet is by far one of Jim Starlin's biggest successes. So where's the line between the person who creates it and the person who actually develops it for you?
I think the proof is in the pudding, really. I mean, go back and read a couple of issues of Warlock that Roy Thomas introduced him, and it's nowhere near the stuff Starlin does. So, that's where, you say, okay, pass the torch to Starlin, and he makes the character his own. Even same thing with Captain Marvel. He took over Captain Marvel from Roy Thomas as well. Or Steve Englehart. I can't remember which one, but maybe it was both of them. But Starlin is the one that put Captain Marvel on the map towards the end as well, and especially with the death of Captain Marvel. Come on,
agreed.
That really cements Starlin's place in cosmic Marvel history as one of the best to do it. When I think of Silver Surfer runs, I think of Starlin's run on Silver Surfer in the late 80s, early 90s.
So I think Ron Lim on Surfer. I don't know where it is. I think Ron Lim Surfer.
Starlin was on there too with Lim at the same time. So
there you go. Well, same purpose, the same range. Then excellent.
Yeah.
I think some characters with their longevity, some like characters like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, the Fantastic Four. Well, Fantastic Four is easy. Fantastic Four breaks down into two camps: Stan Lee and Jack Kirby on one side, John Byrne on the other.
Yeah. Well, if you think of these characters, you think of Adam Warlock, you think of Thanos, you think of Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, Pip the Troll. All those characters, no one else used them. Anytime you ever read them in a book, it was because Jim was writing it. So, I mean, with a rare few exceptions, Jim Starlin those were his characters, and he took them with him wherever he went. To the point that when Jim Starlin left Marvel, he killed off Thanos and Warlock and Captain Marvel.
That's one way of sorting that out, I suppose. But hey, didn't work when Frank Miller killed Elektra before leaving.
Oh no! So these characters are way too popular to stay dead. I mean, the proof is here too, because all those characters are no longer dead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I enjoyed the book. I thought the book was a tad long in the reading.
Oh yeah.
But I could see how, in all essence, if you've been following Starlin's run up to this point, this issue has so many big payoffs. You'd be like, wow, how good is this book?
Well, and Starlin uses one of the gimmicks that I don't like in comics. If you go back to like page 2,
hang on, page. It's coming back.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you'll see it. When you get to it, the second page is like all the text on one side and then the art on the other side. I've seen Starlin do that. I've seen Don McGregor do that before.
Todd McFarlane.
Yep, I'm just not a fan of having the text on one side and the art on the other. And that's just a personal taste thing, but trying to keep everything straight. When you read all the text and then you're looking at these pictures, Starlin is really famous for these like almost splash page, lots of stuff going on, but trying to figure it out what part of the story are you looking at right now? So
I think it's definitely a creative tick. I think currently Chris Priest, he no matter where he writes, no matter if it's for Dynamite or whether it's for DC or for Marvel even, he always has like a black box, a black panel with like the title of something, and then dotted around.
This is the part of the story named this.
Yeah, you're like, dude, just stop already. I get it. You're far cleverer than I am. That's fine. It must be because he's doing the same trick and I'm still reading it. So there you go. Okay, so let's see who we got. Let's have a countdown. Groot's still in the lead. We've got Drax. We've got Gamora. We seem to be missing a couple of more people. Who shall we go with next? Well, I think the clue for this one is pretty much slap bang in the cover. So.
No?
Well, yeah. Oh, it could be. Give me 2 seconds. I'll put it on. It is. Hey now, what's the matter? Where's it? Oh, he's not playing. There he is.
Hey,
The mighty Star.
who's that? The owl?
Oh, just give me 2 seconds. I've got a technical issue going on. There we go. Huh. No one noticed. No one saw
Yeah.
anything. Excellent. All right. Okay. So yes, this is Star-Lord. Who'd have thunk this crazy mother lover is actually Star-Lord? That's right. This is
Yay.
Marvel Preview number 4 from October 1975. So a couple of bit later in the year from Adam Warlock. eBay, you can get this for 75 to 185 pounds. It's about the same price as Strange Tales, to be honest. 6.5 on Go Collect gets you 425. The grade 8, oh, sorry. A grade 8 gets you $800. There you go. Written by Steve Englehart, art by Steve Gann, inks by Bob McLeod. There's no colorist because it's a black and white book.
Hey.
Hey, oh. Yeah. So there you go. This is it. Star-Lord.
Yeah.
What did you make of this?
I actually like this book. I thought it was interesting because of the way they can tell the story in this non-comics code book. So you got a little more adult language in here,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more adult storytelling, a little bit of an anti-hero type character, where he's not very heroic at all.
Not selfish.
It's very selfish, yes, and not doesn't worry about having to like shoot some people in cold blood. So, hey, I thought this was a really good story. It's a very, very loosely sticks with the Star-Lord origin a little bit, very, very loosely.
Yeah, there's a baby, there's a kid, and
Yeah, he's a baby, and
stars.
he's looking at the stars, and he sees a UFO, and his mom dies. Yeah, so, but then that's it really kind of takes off, kind of goes off the rails when he starts working for NASA or wherever he's working with, and trying to become an astronaut, and because he's not likable, which goes totally against what we've learned from Star-Lord. Everybody likes Star-Lord, right?
Right.
Yeah. So here he's kicked off the program because he can't work well with others, and after changing his attitude a little bit, they give him the go ahead, right? And then he ends up stealing everything.
Yeah. So they won't send him off to space to meet the people, but they'll put him on the space station.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get selected, does he? That's right.
Yeah.
And then so he steals something to get there. Yeah, that's right. Spot on.
Yeah. He steals the rocket, goes up there anyway, and then I didn't know why they let him in, but apparently they let him in, and he either I don't know if he kills or just clubs everybody to, and then ends up with the
that's a killing gun, that, like, no phasers set to stun on that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, I think they actually show him the next panel. He's the guy's still kicking. See?
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Maybe it was set to stun.
Set to just foobar.
Yeah.
So he ends up with the element gun that they never really get into in the movies about what the actual powers of the gun, right? It's just a laser gun that he has in the movies. But this is an element gun that can shoot fire and ice and earth and wind, as it does.
As you do.
Yeah, and you see who gives him the gun? God. Hey. Man. But as first appearances goes, it's an interesting book.
Doesn't he get a talking ship later on? He gets a talking ship.
But not here. They actually Star-Lord actually has a few more appearances in the pages of the Marvel Premiere, I believe.
Okay.
He gives a couple more stories. Did you read the introduction at the beginning, which
No.
was Steve Englehart explaining why he created Star-Lord? Actually, he didn't create Star-Lord. Marv Wolfman came to him and said, I need a character for this book. We're going to call him Star-Lord. Can you do anything with that name?
And this is what he came up with.
And this is what he came up with. But he was, I guess Steve was really big into astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And so he built the astrology into Star-Lord's story. So if you read it, they show that they actually do like the planets align and all that stuff.
They do. Yeah, they did.
He's like they actually did that on those dates that he was writing about. So
really?
yeah, he said that aspect of the story, the astrology part, it was accurate. So yeah, it was interesting kind of angle. I liked it. This is definitely not the Star-Lord that we see in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie or in the comic from Abnett and Lanning. Like I said, that book, which we can't talk about on the podcast because it's still
it's a little bit about it.
It's I mean, those characters are definitely reimaginations of these characters that maybe we read about. They're definitely different. So
indeed, I enjoyed this book. I have a soft spot for the Marvel Black and White purely because of the reasons you said. It feels when you're a kid and you manage to score a black and white Marvel book, you're like you think you hit like the motherlode. It's like yes, serious storytelling. And you're
who's the artist that you think reflects better in black and white than in color? Like when you read him, when you see an artist and you flip through it and you're like, oh, that looks great, but when you find him in black and white, you're like, oh my god.
I think some John Byrne works really well black and white. I think. What do you think?
I have one artist in particular that I think should have never done anything in color. Gene
Mike
Colan.
Mignola. Gene Colan. Oh yeah. Yeah. Forgot. Yeah, definitely.
His work in black and white is unbelievable.
The Tomb of Dracula stuff we're talking about.
Tomb of Dracula, or really anything else. I've had the pleasure of actually seeing some of his original artwork in black and white, and sometimes you think it's like, why would you add color to this? And sometimes if you look at some of Colan's artwork for Marvel, sometimes the color ruined it.
Yeah.
So
especially who used to have Alan Davis. This was allegedly the reason why I left Excalibur the first time around was because he was sick of the color process destroying the pencils.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he was like, oh, I'm done. I'm leaving because you're spoiling the books, spoiling my work. I'm done. It wasn't until everything became a lot cleaner, a lot more digitized with the introduction of digital coloring that he came back for, obviously a massive paycheck as well because you can do your own stuff. Claremont has left the book as well at that point, so Davis was pulling double cheddar cheese for that one. So there you go. So one left. Who have we not talked about?
I know. I know who we haven't talked about yet.
I know who we haven't talked about. Unfortunately, it's not the cover person that we're going to talk about, which is a shame because
I actually, when this book came over, I actually was like, wait, this isn't his first appearance, is it? Didn't he first appear in the Hulk?
Well, no, apparently not. This
is his first appearance, but Hulk would be his first appearance in Marvel proper, right? Because one could argue that this is not the same character.
Well, actually, I've done some research on this. Actually, it's stated. Let's get the character on first of all. All right, it's this book. This Marvel preview, number 7. The young lady on the cover is Satana, not Zatanna. So get your letters right. And she's very hotty-totty. But unfortunately, we're not looking at that book. I have to scoop all the way across to page 44 for this one. So let's get to 44.
The Sword in the Star. That's the name of the book, right? That's the name of the story.
One after that one. Boom. I'm going backwards. 44. 41. There we go. We'll go from there. 42. Right. So this is the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. Yes, written by Bill Mantlo, art by Keith Giffen. There's no letter credited, but it looks like Wachowski to me. But what can I say? As to cost, anywhere on eBay between £80 and £240. Go collect. Right. Go collect at a grade 8 has got you down for $450 at grade 8. 9.6. Guess how much?
I've been highballing everything all day. Let's say 1,500.
2,500.
Oh, see, I said 2,500 for the other one.
All right. So to answer your question, yes, this is for Rocket Raccoon's first appearance. He would again appear in Incredible Hulk 271 in 1982, where we learned that Rocky is short for Rocket. In 85, he received his own 4-issue limited series, and in an afterword in the first issue, Mantlo himself asserted this was the same character seen in preview.
Okay, well, if Bill said it, then I'll believe it.
Allegedly.
But I was going to say they call him Rocky in this, not Rocket. So,
well, again, do you know where Rocky Raccoon comes from?
Bullwinkle.
It's a Beatles reference.
Oh.
Allegedly. I don't know.
In Bullwinkle, it's Rocky the squirrel. Sorry.
Yeah. I know who Rocky and Bullwinkle are. So this gorgeous work by Keith Giffen absolutely staggers my mind. How gorgeous is this? It absolutely screams, look at me, I'm a serious book. And then we get there, everything's going great, and then lo and behold, a talking raccoon on that page. Where's he at?
Next page.
There he is.
Next
page. And that's it.
There he is.
There he is, up there.
He talks like you.
I know. Yeah, no, he does. He is British. He's got a British accent. He talks about old chap and sticky wickets, which is a reference to cricket, of all things.
Calls him old bean.
Old bean, yeah. It's like Alfred.
Right? I bloody well can't determine.
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. Do you have raccoons over there in England?
No,
right?
No, we don't.
No,
we don't have raccoons.
You don't?
No.
So where did he get his accent?
I don't know. Public television. Story-wise, this story has been going on in Marvel Preview for a couple of issues. If you go back to look at the Star-Lord book, it's the backup feature in there as well. So there is some stuff going on there. I unfortunately didn't realize that at the time. So when I read this, I was like, what the hell's going on?
Well, you didn't read it for that story. You read it to see Rocket, right?
Exactly. It sounds like whatever. It's a strange book. It's a strange Rocket.
Especially if you're jumping in mid-story, you don't know what's going on.
What did you think of this one?
To be honest with you, I was reading it, not understanding it, so I did not go back and reread it. So I was just like, okay, I guess I'm just not going to understand everything that's going on here. This book, I was kind of like, so I think black and white, when we were just talking a minute ago about the great artists that show up in black and white, I have to say, Keith Giffen's not one of them. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, this needs some color for me to figure out what the heck is going on. Just look at that page. Like,
I think too much. I think color would spoil it. I really do.
I disagree. I think I think it's so busy that I need color to kind of show me what's going on. It just looks like I just can't tell. And it took me like it was almost like Where's Waldo to find Rocket at the bottom of the page there.
There is that.
You know, and
There is that.
I like I like the ending where they say this is the second installment of Sword in the Star and probably the last.
Yeah. Oh dear, yes.
Yeah, whoops! I guess we'll never find out the ending to this story.
Here's an interesting fact for you. All right, in the 30 years, in his first 30 years of existence, how many comic book appearances did Rocket the Raccoon actually make?
Well, so he had I think it was a 2-issue appearance in the Hulk, right?
Right.
And then he had his limited series in the early 80s. That was 4 issues or 5.
Bear in
And
mind,
then,
this book came out in 75.
so you said in his first 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
So it's from 75 to 2005?
75, 2000. Yeah, right,
Yeah, probably that was it. He probably didn't appear after his limited series for a good 20 years. And then he probably showed back up in the Guardians of the Galaxy book for Annihilation in 2006.
So here's the thing. For such a popular character now, he appeared in a total of 10 comic books in his first 30 years. 10 comics. How bonkers is that?
Well, it's crazy. It is.
I mean, I think this pretty much can be said about all the characters we looked at today. You're absolutely right when you say we look at these characters, and with the exclusion of maybe Thanos, all of them have gone through dramatic changes. And if it wasn't for the 2006 Dan Abnett stuff we were saying, the Guardians we got on the silver screen aren't the Guardians that we expect. In fact, when we talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, my first thought, the Jim Valentino book.
Yeah, well, there was
that's where I go first.
There was a Marvel premiere book that had the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was, Martin X, Charlie 27, Starhawk, and Vance Astro. And that's, that no one remembers them anymore, even though half of them appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3. We had Starhawk and Martin X.
And of course, Yondu is in the Guardians in the Jim Valentino series. So I think as much as I say quite frequently that Marvel movies are plug and play, I think there needs to be a round of applause or a nod of appreciation at least to the guys who actually put all the effort in to revitalize these characters, both from the comic point of view as well as getting them the cinematic uptake. Because I guarantee you, nobody is thinking, "Oh, Rocket Raccoon's first appearance. Oh, great! I'll buy that." Unless the movie's a big hit, I would have liked to have seen what the cost of these books would have been.
Yeah.
Had those movies not had an impact.
Yep, I remember thinking 10 years ago when we were first hearing about them making Guardians of the Galaxy, and I remember literally saying, "Wow, Rocket is going to be the biggest thing that comes out of this movie because the kids are going to love him, and he's going to be like one of those cool, quirky characters that everybody likes." And I mean, and it goes to show you that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where he was very much the main character, even though he didn't have much to do because he was,
busy,
the situation that he was in for most of that movie. So I thought that was the best part to, the character that everybody cared about, right? He was part of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I think that shows you how strong a character is, because the character doesn't have to be on screen. It doesn't have if the character's not on screen, not doing anything, and yet drives all the other characters to their story, then that tells you how big that character has to be. It's like I said before, the best villains of the movies are the ones that drive the film. I always use A Few Good Men. Jack Nicholson's only in that for 20 minutes, and yet the whole movie's about him.
Mm-hmm.
So, so you're kind of like, whoa. I think Groot was probably initially the one that everyone loved, especially when he was baby Groot.
Yes.
Well, I think Rocket's well served, and I think I agree with you that Rocket has the longevity of the characters. I think a lot of them can be interchanged now, but that's an indictment of Marvel now. But
Yeah, well, I think it was a huge shout out to all the funny animal books that come before us too. So.
There is that. Bring on the Calvin and Hobbes movie.
Oh, that'll never happen.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. All right, there you go. Not just 3, not just 4, but 5 different Guardian-related books to celebrate our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 special. Yeah, don't say us old-timers don't do anything that's relatively new. There you go. New movie. Is that right now? There
It's
you
new to you.
Yeah.
Old to us.
Some of this was new to me. I'm like, oh man. You can pick the theme next time. I'm not picking another one.
Oh, next time's our Mother's Day episode, isn't it?
Oh, Mothers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's not a Marvel character called Necessity.
Get in your picks early. Do we do best and worst mothers?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I think we can do I'm sure we can think of a couple of dodgy people. Fine. There you go. All right, Professor, thank you so much for spending the time. Really do enjoy talking comics. Well done.
Well, thank you. I always enjoy talking to you, Johnny, so that's good.
Oh, bless you. Bless your cotton socks. Don't forget to check out the UCPM for all your favourite shows. We talked about it, the No Price Podcast, the place to find a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And, of course, if you like everything DC, check out the sister show, The Definitive Crusade, which is everything DC. I'm pretty sure the guys will be gearing up for The Flash.
Yeah, that's coming up pretty quick.
There you go. We'll see how that goes. All right. That's it. We're done for another show. So, Professor, thanks again.
Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it.
And I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and adios.